Hi, beautiful people. It's a beautiful day again. So, journey with me today as we go through the city of Kampala and even as we go through the roads of Uganda. And today, I'd like us to talk about the bourgeois kind of leadership. We have seen an uprising and kind of dissatisfaction in various countries, including Bangladesh. And Bangladesh actually been able to actually host their own prime minister. And when you talk about a bourgeois kind of leadership, it basically is talking about, it is typically refers to the middle class, which of course often is associated with issues capitalism and of course their values and their interest. If you look at even our own country, we have seen, for example, what is happening, that of course we cannot ignore that. The Bangladesh uprising, of course, is going to have a lot of impact even globally. Remember, there is, for example, the issue of support, global support, and even other nations, of course, watching and seeing what exactly is happening. And there is a lot of dissatisfaction with the various kind of leadership because, of course, what leads to this kind of capitalism is that just a few, the minority, of course, are the ones who are benefiting at the expense of the larger population, and of course there is that need for people to look for social justice. And the uprising is basically more against the issues of some of the things that seems to be stemming up, which include the economical disparities. Like we have seen even in our own nation, you will hear, for example, it was interesting to actually watch the vetting of the CSs, and some of the MPs were actually laughing at one of the CSs who was saying that is valued, I think it was 30 million, while others were actually valued up to 1 billion. So it clearly tells us that there is a lot of disparity. Yet, unfortunately, when you talk about, for example, the issues of political elitism, we find that our politicians, they do not seem to have businesses, but when we ask them, somebody within a very short time, they have gained hundreds and hundreds of millions shillings, and they will come and try and explain to us is basically because, oh, something was happening. They have been able to get interest. They have been able to get a few things which were not happening, but it is because the fact that they are in office, they have amassed a lot of wealth, yet they don't seem to have any form of business, tangible businesses that you can actually see. So you can see some of these issues, and the reason why it actually will have, it has a global impact. If you look at the issue of Bangladesh, of course, today being the 8th of August, there is the nane, and of course the Gen Zs seem to have taken a short break, but because of some of these things, it's actually an encouragement that these things can actually be done. And for example, if you look at Bangladesh, the widespread protests have actually erupted against the government. And of course, it is fueled by those things like economical hardship. Of course, like actually began with the students actually not being able to even access basic education. And you look at even our own country, for example, we know CDF, we have been told that CDF is budgeted corruption that we can't see a class. Yet even if you look at the era of Moi Kibaki, basically what was happening is that there was free education. And if you look at what Kibaki made sure that was happening is that you would actually empower people by giving them skills. And I know Kibaki, we have been told he even tried to reintroduce the issues of, for example, having art and craft, having music, but it was an idea that was actually shut down. Yet what would have happened is, in a post COVID, we have to admit it is about the skill that you have. You don't necessarily even have to have a degree. And if you look at our Gen Zs, of course, these are people who are now graduating and they realize clearly there is no jobs. When you try to actually become even a content creator, or you are looking for jobs even outside, you're working digitally, you want to become a digital marketer or whatever it is, the government actually wants to even take what they have not provided, the little that you have, they want to take it by taxing more. So of course, what has happened is there is that issue of decentralization, and we have seen, for example, the mass movements have, of course, reflect mostly the fact that they seem to be leaderless. They seem to be decentralized, is basically a reflection of the mistrust of traditional political structures. Yes, we will talk about our own leaders. You'll find, for example, you can't even trust a leader. You have had people being called even in state house, but people declining and saying this is, everybody seems to be dissatisfied. I think 99% of the humans are actually dissatisfied by the kind of leadership that we are seeing. And that is the reason why, of course, we can see, for example, even in terms of the mobilization, people will mobilize, come up with flyers, come up with, when they are meeting, feed themselves, come up with the doctors. Of course, we have seen, for example, even our own doctors not being able to access even basic internship. Yes, and you cannot become a doctor without the internship. We have seen, for example, we hear, for example, even helb we have had a bit of delays. And in Kenya, in actual sense, or in any country, for example, if somebody were to take quite a number, were to delay even wages, or were to delay a particular payment, and they put it in a fixed account, what would happen is they are accumulating, they accrue the interest. You can imagine if, for example, somebody takes, even if it is a particular help, or takes the wages of a particular, maybe the doctors, and puts them in a fixed account. They are going to delay their salaries, but then it is out of selfish, bourgeois kind of leadership, where people are actually feeling it, they can actually accrue interest at the expense of other people. So clearly, of course, that kind of inequality and the political elitism is what is actually fueling. And of course, even there is a bit of cultural alienation, right? Because you will find, for example, there's this bourgeois kind of value and lifestyle that are actually incompatible. Their lifestyle and, of course, even their values are very incompatible, because of course that what would it does not reflect the aspirations of the majority. Yes, like we can hear somebody actually go on national television, or even go to a show, and they say that their shoe is worth this amount. They say their watch is worth millions of shillings, yet there are Kenyans out there who don't have education, basic education. But then, do you know, like, you'll find that right now there are people actually arguing. I don't know, it's basic, maybe they are phasing out the issues of the degrees, and supporting more of the TVET. But in actual sense, you can see there is that feeling of discontent. There is that feeling of things don't necessarily seem to happen. And you know what eventually will happen, could happen, or is likely to happen? The dissatisfaction continues. Even if people take a rest, it does not necessarily mean they're satisfied. So it is important then for the government to actually look into these issues that people are talking about, the economic inequalities, the kind of political corruption that we are seeing in a bourgeois government are, of course, and of course, even these people are actually in cahoots with business people, right? The business elite, basically. And that is why, for example, Kenyans are actually feeling that even the IMF, of course, are business elites. For them, they're in business, disregarding what exactly is happening on the ground. Because at the end of the day, we are paying interest, yet we are not seeing what the interest is benefiting us. So, guys, we clearly can see, when you talk about the nane, it has a lot of them, and the Bangladesh uprising clearly has a lot of impact. And of course, it's just an opinion, but it's very important for us to be able to focus on even being able to do something about it, right? So, guys, I would like you to tell us what you'd actually want us to talk more about. And it's really a journey, and it's a journey that needs resilience, and it's a journey that needs unity. It's a journey that actually needs uh, all of us actually uniting. So, bye, guys. Thank you very much for listening in. Kindly like our pages, comment, tell us what you'd like us to discuss more about.